Hello and welcome to the Pathifist podcast. My name is Andy, also known as Wendigo Bunny, and I'm here with my two guests today. I have my co-hosts Jenny and Nikki. Go ahead and say hi, guys.
Hi, I'm Jenny, or Hermaya Mora.
Hi, I'm Nikki, or otherwise Doc Nickie on Twitter.
And we're here today to talk about episodes 4 and 5 of The Path on Hulu, The Future and The Whole, respectively. And we're going to go through and just discuss these two episodes and the character arcs. We got quite a bit more exposition on all of the characters in these episodes. They were two, again, amazing episodes. We're just going to go through and talk about these. And I think we're going to start with Cal and Miranda because we were talking about Miranda when we left her in episode 3. Poor Miranda was in the little rehabilitation facility. We found her on the floor after drinking the cleansing juice and looking pretty bad with blood coming out of her mouth and everything. And we didn't know if she was going to make it, so. We found her at the beginning of episode 4 in the hospital, thank God, alive, and Cal went to pay her a visit, and Jenny trying to talk to her and see if he could get her to unburden.
Right. I remember in an earlier podcast that we did, I mentioned this woman who was part of a cult, and they accused her of emotional adultery, and they locked her in like a shed, and they wouldn't tell her what she did. But they kept saying, "Oh, it was emotional. It was in your head," and sort of this thought crime thing. Mm-hmm. And the way it was really funny that in this episode we see Cal basically doing that same thing. Like sometimes powerful thoughts can transcend thought and take on a life of their own, and basically manipulating her and brainwashing her into thinking that she'd done something wrong, and she completely buys it.
Yeah, the whole I'm a bit confused at times as to who thinks that they did what, and who's right. Been convinced of what transgression, and it seems like so far Eddie is the only one that is very firm in his belief of, sticking to his own knowledge of what he did, and everybody else seems kind of like it's open for interpretation.
Yeah.
He knows what reality is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he still knows what reality is. So later when we see, a few seconds later, Cal goes in to talk to, in the show, to Sarah and Eddie and say, "I spoke with Miranda. She unburdened to me. She told me everything that happened in Peru." And Eddie looks at him and he's just like, "She did what?" Yeah. And he turns his head to the side with this expression like, "What?"
Do you think that she actually did tell him what really happened? Or no?
She did. She told him that he was saying, "There is no light. There is no light."
And that she went to hug him, and that she just wanted to take care of him. And she said, she says to Cal, "Do you think I ... And then she just burst into tears. And I think Miranda genuinely thinks that maybe she somehow spiritually, or in some other state or level of being, may have transgressed with Eddie without really realizing it. And I think she, in a brainwashed state, feels like maybe she did. Yeah. Because Cal kind of leads her in that direction.
Yeah, but Cal obviously doesn't believe any of that. Because
no, he does not.
As soon as she says there is no light, he knows.
He knows, yeah.
He knows that Eddie is losing his faith.
But he doesn't know the whole story, and he is dying to know the whole story. Yeah. He wants to know what happened.
When he's talking to Silas on the phone, he says, "I don't know what Eddie's hiding." And Silas just kind of chuckles and says, "Don't you?" Like, Silas, you know things. Mm-hmm. So apparently Silas knew
I think Silas does know that Eddie went in and may have seen Dr. Meyer.
Oh,
I don't know if he knows all the details. He probably heard him say.
That's what I was kind of wondering about before. Like, does his visions? Has anybody really figured out that he's having those?
I think that Silas knows that Cal has aspirations of taking over things. I mean, and that's why Bill. Well, I think that's why people are leery of what his ambitions might be. But I think that may have been what that conversation was about.
And then ironically, we have Eddie who's losing his faith, but also having legitimate visions, and that makes him maybe even more faithful than Cal in some ways.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It just seems to me like when Silas says, "Don't you?" I don't know. I don't think that's him being all, fuck you, Cal. I think he was kind of on his side there, like maybe not entirely, but he was sharing a knowing exchange with him. Like we both kind of know what's going on with Eddie, don't we? So, yeah.
So meaning we both know that Eddie's having doubts.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But back to Miranda, I thought it was interesting. I always like watching Cal before he enters a room because he has to go through his little self-prep.
I love that.
Back his shoulders, maybe cracks his neck, puffs his chest out. Got to get ready to meet this person and be as dominant and effective as I can. Mm-hmm. And when he goes out in there and he actually approaches her, like he comes to her side of the bed, mm-hmm. She flinches. Like she's just like,
She curls into herself.
Yeah, and she says, I'm sorry, like 3 times.
Well, because she says, I just want to know why all these people are telling these fucking lies about me. And then she's immediately, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And when he touches her arm, she recoils away from him and kind of curls into herself in just a very submissive but also afraid posture, fearful.
Yeah. Well, so this triggers, of course, Bill and Felicia. Mm-hmm. They're coming to investigate Cal, basically. They think he's fucking up. And they tell him, about, the problem with Miranda, but they also mention Allison Kemp running around. So that's another problem they have. And
doing all this under the auspices of going for Ascension Day, but when people find out that they're coming, I think the people in the know that that's not why they're there.
Yeah. They're like, somebody's in trouble. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of curious about what the ladder is. When Felicia says that she burned her hands on the ladder.
The way my understanding of it is that it was a drug-fueled experience, obviously, that it was a vision. Dr. Meyer was in the lead in this vision, and Felicia was behind him, and Bill was behind her, and that it was like a drug-fueled vision that they had, and I'm not sure how her hands were burned when it was something that was experienced, if it was not something that was experienced physically. That's the one thing I haven't put together yet.
Unless there was something actually on fire that they visually misinterpreted as something else.
Yeah. Oh, look, this ladder. Oh, man.
But I think the one question that I have is that if 10R is the highest rung, and the elders, including Cal, are all 10R, but the 3 top rungs have not been written yet, and
That's where everything parallels Scientology to a good
Yeah,
extent with this,
yeah.
because they kept adding, different OT levels in Scientology.
Well, well, my question is that if the three top rungs haven't been written yet, unless I'm bad at math, what is Stephen Meyer? If he lives so completely in the light that light just pours out of him, but is he
He's not
10R, but
ranked.
just like super special 10R?
He's not. I don't think he's even ranked.
He's not even
I
ranked.
think
He's just in the light.
he's a chosen one. Yeah.
Okay, he's the chosen one. Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah, and then Cal is the next chosen one.
okay,
He's the
Right?
chosen son.
chosen son. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
But one thing I was thinking about is when Eddie had his vision in Peru, he goes in and he sees Dr. Myers dying, and there is a snake slithering over him.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads him to believe that there is no light.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the truth. He saw Dr. Meyer exactly as he is.
Well, he's surrounded in darkness.
And he saw like the machinery, like he saw like he saw him in bed. He saw him with exactly as he's supposed to be.
With his hair missing and everything.
Yeah, and with the addition of a snake, which I believe
the snake was not real.
Yes, yeah, thank you. I believe it symbolizes Cal, maybe. Like being sneaky. It might not symbolize him necessarily. It might symbolize the darkness. I don't know. But the snake is golden, so.
If we, extrapolate this to the garden analogy, right? So.
Oh, yes.
The snake, of course, is the thing that led humanity out of the garden.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
there's some symbolism there. I mean, it's more, I think, just something that his brain is trying to tell him something using a familiar symbol, perhaps.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Even though he's not Christian.
Yeah,
anybody's going to think of it. It's just
Yeah.
It's so prevalent in Western.
Yeah, especially with the concept of the garden and everything as well.
Yeah, but it's just because his vision was so accurate when he had no way of knowing any of this. That kind of introduces the thought of a possibility of actual supernatural activity.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's kind of like how in Hannibal, when you have the priest is able to see Abigail, it's never really explained,
Then perhaps the burns on Felicia's hands are real.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she just reached out and grabbed a hot iron, or something, and thought, and she was so high she didn't know any better. But there is enough going on in the show that makes you think maybe some weird stuff is real, and I don't know. It just kind of leaves everything up to interpretation so far.
That's why it's interesting that that Eddie, at the same time he's losing his faith, he's actually possibly experiencing a true connection to the core, concepts of Meyerism by having that vision, perhaps. Which is strange because he's losing his faith at the same time. Like, I wonder how he interprets. He hasn't really said about how he interprets that vision, has he?
Yeah, he said to Allison that it was the darkness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's very vague.
He doesn't. I mean, at this point, he doesn't know it's real. He doesn't know it's true.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
It's never been so. To him, it could have just.
Boy, is he going to be surprised?
Yeah, when he finds out, wow, I really did have it, and it was right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so Felicia appears to be the more dominant of the two.
Mm-hmm.
She's all smiles and warmth when she tells Cal, I'm going to take over Ascension Day. You just go sit down over there, little boy, And she's being very friendly, but it's so, like, condescending. And Cal's sensitive to that sort of thing. He likes to always feel like he's in
control.
Yeah, in control.
Especially from women.
Yeah, and So basically, she makes him feel like he is weak and unimportant in his own movement. And immediately after that, he chooses to go visit Mary Cox, who is his most devout admirer and thinks that he can do no wrong and showers him with affection constantly. So, yeah, of course he went to go see her at that moment.
She's so vulnerable, and she just worships him. She looks up to him so much.
Yeah.
And she's a woman who submits to him as opposed to tries to tell him what to do.
Oh, you think that's what he's into?
Well, I don't mean that in that sense. I mean in the psychological sense, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, he seems to really like Sarah, and she's pretty vivacious. Yeah. What did you guys think about that now infamous scene?
I think a lot of people had different feelings about it on social media. I think that they're both very confused.
Oh, yeah.
Along almost parallel lines, like both of them having parents who, obviously in different ways, who were just not there for them emotionally. Right. And, when two people like that come together who are similarly damaged, it's never a good thing.
Yeah.
For either of them.
Right. And I would say that Brenda Roberts was probably very abusive to Cal because of the way from the moment he showed up at her house, he was trying, he's doing the prep outside the door, but as soon as he saw her, he is shaking. He is actually trembling when he's looking at a grown man looking at her. And she berates him and emotionally abuses him constantly until he finally breaks down and yells at her. So it's clear that he has been abused by his mother, and Mary has been abused by her father. So we're talking about some, opposite gender issues here, Yeah. So both of them together are so messed up, and
people like that seem to find each other in real life rather than, unfortunately, a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I thought, just on one level, I thought that he obviously he's celibate, so he doesn't want, he's got so much guilt and so much shame on himself that he carries, and so much everything he just carries, and he won't release any of it to anyone. And one of the things that fascinates me about Cal is that he places so much importance on unburdening, but he never unburdens himself. And I'm not just making a sexual innuendo there. I'm just saying, he never comes, but
I'm pretty sure he hasn't. I'm pretty sure he hasn't come yet.
Poor Cal, but seriously though, he never unburdens to anyone.
It just sort of explodes out of him
exactly.
Moments. Again, not an innuendo. But it does. It just explodes out of him.
We saw him obviously drink the alcohol. He got drunk. We saw him lose his temper in episode 5 and start hitting the wall. We saw him lose his temper in episode 3 at his mother and scream at her. We've seen him in bursts just yell at people. But
both,
he doesn't unburden to anyone.
No. Both Mary and Cal are rather childish.
But yet his whole philosophy, his whole religion, his whole spirituality, what he's basing his life on is you have to live in the light, you have to live transparent, you have to unburden. So he experiences this humiliating episode with Felicia.
Uh-huh.
And he very unhealthily, we might admit, goes to Mary. And I don't think he went there with the intention of doing what
I
wound up
don't think it
happening
was
at
just
all.
kind of
I
a, it
think it
was just
just
kind
kind
of
of happened. No, yeah.
an impulse.
It was an
Mary
impulse.
makes me feel good about myself. I'm gonna go see what she's
Well,
up to.
when she said, well, we haven't had sex yet, and then he looks at the door frantically for a minute like a guilty child that wants to see if maybe dad isn't home, mom isn't home yet, maybe I can get one out real quick. So,
Oh my God.
And
quick being the operative word, I think, in this situation.
Well, I noticed a lot of the reactions were obviously very mixed, but I think the majority of them were extremely judgmental towards Cal. And my reaction to the scene, honestly, beyond the whole, holy shit, is it hot to watch him masturbate? But beyond that, my reaction more seriously and deeply was I was heartbroken for Cal because of...
I was heartbroken for both of them.
Because how desperately sad I felt for him that this is the only sexual satisfaction or relief he feels like he can get is this. And also, yes, I was heartbroken for Mary too, because she's so infatuated with him, and she looks at him with so much I don't think that what she feels for him is necessarily love, but I think it is
savior.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's hero worship, and I think that he has the ability of making her feel very, very, very small and unimportant.
Yeah.
And I think that his continual reaching for her and then rejecting her is damaging her deeply.
Yes. I'm not even sure what she wanted in that scene, because she, the way she's just like kind of craning her neck and leaning toward him like, yeah, and this is what we did. And then this, talking very seductively. And then he starts,
I know what she wanted. Well, I know what she wanted. She wanted to please him. She wants to please him.
Right, except when he finished or didn't finish or whatever.
He didn't finish.
I think so. I think he's always like
as volatile as his reactions are to things. Really, when he comes, we will know it. He will break the
because
it's
you
the
can
internet.
see it. Whenever he has any kind of like wants to show off any kind of release on screen, it looks like he's blowing a load.
Exactly. Thank you.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go ahead and disagree with you here. I think he did in the scene.
Really?
But I think I do. That was my interpretation at the time. But it was almost, but it was so unfulfilling that it didn't seem like it. I guess
right,
that's how I interpret
okay, so
it.
he's using his left hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And without even thinking about it, just zips up his pants and then goes and opens the door with his left hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a guy who's got jizz all over his hand. I don't think so. Yeah. I just don't think he did.
Well, it's more. I would expect it to be more in his pants, actually. But like I said, that's just how I interpreted it, because it was unfulfilling.
Soiled pants.
That's how I saw it. What can I say?
Well, first of all,
it's like whatever. I'm just gonna walk out here with a bunch of.
Okay.
That was the image in my mind. I don't know.
Image of my mind.
I'm just saying.
Listen, he's American, so he's American. He's not. He is circumcised. I am going to go on record and say I think canon-wise he's probably circumcised, and he would have gotten jizz on his hand. So I'm going to have to weigh in on Jenny's side on this.
It's really hard. It's really hard not. I'm not going to go into detail anyway. As I was saying, Mary is really looking like she's into it. She looks like she's getting aroused. She looks like she's enjoying talking him off. But when he says, thank you, and leaves, she looks heartbroken. I'm not sure what she wanted there.
Oh,
Just
I
something
think it's
else.
because she felt a little bit used.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And
why didn't she feel used while it was happening?
because, well, that's why I think it's because he didn't come, and I think he stopped masturbating and decided to leave. See, I
Like
think if
maybe
he
I
had
didn't
come,
really,
she
I
wouldn't have
wasn't
been
good enough.
upset. I think if he had come, she wouldn't have been upset.
That's actually kind of what I was wondering, because when she undressed for him in the first place and he rejected her, she was really upset about that
Yeah.
too.
See, that's what I think is
So
causing her
she
distress.
wants to give him that.
She wants him to come. She wants his release. That's why she wants to please him and make him happy. And I'm not trying to say that to be crass. I'm saying that she's trying to make him happy.
Yeah.
And that's why I
And
think that
if he did,
that would have made her over the moon.
I don't know about that. I was just gonna say,
I
like,
just thought she was expecting him to stay a little bit longer.
yeah, I was gonna say if he did actually release, maybe she wanted him to be like, "Oh, I love you," or "I kiss you," or something more than "Thank you, Mary. Bye." It's just like, wow. But I think the reason he did that quickly and like nothing had happened is because he wanted to pretend that nothing had happened, and he wanted to get out of there quickly
He's
because
trying
he
to
felt
restrict the
ashamed.
connection.
Yeah, I think he felt ashamed at him fucking jerking off in front of somebody. I think he wanted to get out of there. So I don't know.
He has a fear of intimacy. He has a fear of allowing himself to be vulnerable in front of people. He won't
Oh,
even let people see him eat.
yes, exactly. He shows weakness.
Why would he allow somebody?
Except I was gonna say, except for, and that would bring us into the discussion of Cal and Eddie.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Nikki?
That's what I was just gonna say. The only person who he eats in front of is Eddie.
Yeah, and it was in a moment of vulnerability with Eddie, where they were sitting in front of the fire, and he actually tells him what his greatest fear is, and is very open with him and apologizes, I believe sincerely, about yelling at Sarah.
I do too, but I think that's by design.
You think he's pretending to be open and vulnerable?
No, I don't think by design meaning that he has an agenda. I think, well, I think that, honestly, I think that Cal is very lonely and is actually trying to get Eddie to be his friend.
Yeah, that's one thing I was asking people.
And the reason why I think that goes back to Bill and Felicia and Steve. I kind of think that Cal sees himself as being the future Steve, and he sees Sarah and Eddie as being the future Bill and Felicia. He sees what?
That's interesting.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
He sees the support system as a little bit of a trinity, and a kind of a holy trinity. And this is why I don't think that he sees any sort of, and this is how I feel about what he sees in Sarah, okay? And everybody can feel free to disagree with me. This is only my opinion. But back to what I had said in a previous podcast, I feel like he sees Sarah as a Virgin Mary and a spiritual ideal. I think when he was a teenager, they obviously had a relationship, and he obviously did have a crush on her, and he still may have sexual feelings towards her, but I don't think that he has any intention of necessarily going through with those now.
I don't think he wants to break up Eddie and Sarah.
I don't think he has any intention of breaking up Eddie and Sarah, because he needs them to be a couple for his own aspirations to be the next Steve. I think he sees himself as being Steve, the chosen son, and he sees Eddie and Sarah as being Bill and Felicia. And so I feel like he wants to foster that relationship with Eddie to be his Bill, and he wants Sarah to be Felicia. And so he... Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to make my point.
I think he's trying to build for himself that perfect family, he really wants that support system that he never had. And he's ambitious. Yeah, he wants to be in a position of power, but he himself has said that he didn't want that before. That wasn't something he was aiming for. It just kind of happened, and then he took it. So I think that his motivations are more than just, power hungry, I want to grab it, whatever.
Yes, no, I don't think they're that simple.
I think he's very lonely and sad.
Yes, exactly. And I think that his whole point of wanting Eddie to be 7R and trying to befriend him is because he is genuinely trying to foster a relationship with Eddie, because he wants things to be better with them. And I think he also wants to make sure Eddie knows, I'm not trying to get your wife.
Yeah.
Yes, I admire her and I respect her a lot, but I think he also wants Sarah to be more wise and assertive and grow as a leader in their community. And that's why he is being hard on her and standing up to her and yelling at her and stuff like that, because he wants her to be, the Felicia of this movement.
But yes, she does something of her own will, and he doesn't think that's a good thing.
Because he doesn't want to jeopardize. He felt like that was just a huge move that jeopardized everything for him, and he's so afraid of losing everything.
Yeah, I think that was kind of a child throwing a temper tantrum moment.
Yeah, I really think that actually her decision was pretty good, and I think it's going to work out for them all very well in the end.
I agree. John Ridge is a piece of shit and doesn't care about his family. So I think
I can understand why he would be afraid, because he's also wealthy and powerful.
Yeah, obviously he's
got
thugs.
So what's your take on why you think, we were talking about Mary, and just to sort of finish up on, or talk more about Mary, what's your take on the scene when Mary sees Cal go into the church and pray with Sarah and apologize to her?
I think that she saw that Cal was basically behaving in fellowship, very intimate and warm encounter with someone else, and she has not experienced that from him. Sometimes he'll give her a kind word every now and then.
Yeah, not since she first came has he really tried to instruct her or be
pray with her.
Yeah, right.
So I think that was her. I don't know if it's because she's like, oh, that's a woman and he wants to have sex with that woman. I don't think that was what it was about.
No, I don't either.
I think it was, this is how he acts around people he cares about, and he doesn't act that way around me.
Exactly.
So
that's exactly how I saw it too.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, why she wanted to leave right away, is because it's sort of like she was almost brought in under false pretenses in some ways. Yeah. That, she expected that her life there was going to be a lot more like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when Sean tries to get her to stay, she says, I'm not like you. I'm not like them. I think what she's trying to say is, I never believed any of this. I don't think she's a real Meyerist. I think she just was going along with it, I don't think she's a true believer.
No, she believes in Cal.
Yeah. Which kind of is interesting thing about Sarah that I picked up a couple of different episodes. One before with Mary, when she can totally see right through her. She says she wants to join. I want to take my vows. And Sarah's just like,
No, slow down a little bit.
Yeah, she's just looking back and forth between her and Cal and being like, oh, I know what you want, honey. And the same thing happens when Freddie Ridge is talking about how, I've totally found my, I found my Neo self. I'm so I'm so much better now. And she just kind of gives him this look like, great. Like she's not buying any of it, which I like that about her, that she really can see through people pretty easily, except of course Cal. And that's one thing Felicia says, is that Sarah doesn't always see clearly when it comes to Cal.
I hated Felicia for saying that to Eddie. I hated her so much. That was so unhelpful and not a very mature 10R thing to say to him.
What do you mean?
Because he's 6R. He's Sarah's husband. She's 10R. Why would you say that to someone's husband, especially someone who's under you that's trying to climb the ladder? That's very divisive and unhelpful.
Okay, but why?
Because why would you tell someone's husband, your wife really, has a thing for Cal. You better keep your eye on him. That's exactly how it sounded. And they keep saying, oh, keep your eye on Cal. He's blah, blah, blah. That Cal. Whew.
That's not what they're talking about.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, no, I think it's more that they were talking about his personality is actually becoming very cult leader-like.
Yes.
And that's very dangerous because it becomes
Your wife doesn't see very clearly when it comes to Cal. Sounds very, very weird to me. And unhelpful.
Okay, well, I think Eddie interpreted it as Sarah is a little bit in love with Cal.
Yeah, that's exactly how he interpreted it. He's always been jealous. Helpful.
Okay, but he's always been jealous of Cal. But I don't think Felicia meant, Sarah wants to fuck Cal. No, I think that she believes that Sarah sees Cal as a good friend.
No, that is not at all how that scene looked to me, but agree to disagree, I guess.
Yeah.
I really took it honestly as a warning that he's starting to become very ends oriented and not worried so much about the means, which in every historical circumstance for cults has been very bad outcome.
Right, but why would a fellow elder tell a 6R person that?
Because they're the ones that see him most frequently.
Yeah.
And are closest to him.
But isn't that something that should be talked about amongst the other elders? I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of a weird thing.
Ideally, yes, that's very true.
It seems weird to tell someone who's like just a follower.
Hold on a sec. If another 10R comes to the place, Cal is going to know they're here to watch me. It would probably be a bad idea. It wouldn't work. They can't just have 10R spying on him because he's going to behave differently around them.
No, that's true. I mean, they're just, and they've known him the longest as well, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I guess so.
Interesting when they were talking about how we knew that Steve was going to be the leader, because of this miracle, and Cal, for the first time in front of them, has been completely adamant he's going to die. Right? Like right now, he's being rather honest about his lack of faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the others are so they seem unconcerned about the succession or the future of the movement.
They say there will be a miracle. They say there will be a miracle, and he says,
"You got to make miracles happen."
Yeah.
That's kind of like the way, and that's kind of how actual cults function. There really aren't any miracles. They make them,
Yeah. Right. So it kind of made me wonder, well, he's just like, they'll believe that I am the chosen son. Mm-hmm. And basically he heard them say, we're pretty much, in order to prove that you are the next, there has to be a miracle, like a burning ladder. And I feel like right now he's thinking, what's my miracle? What's going to happen that'll make them believe that I am the chosen one? I kind of got that from like, now he's got to make something happen. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's got to probably stage something.
Definitely. I mean, that's how like any other situation like this would have resolved itself, in any
Yeah.
other cult that the person who, is saying the thing is going to happen, they engineer that thing. I mean, that's always the case.
Yes. Yeah. Where he goes to talk to John Ridge about what happened to Freddie and his wife, and basically at that moment when he's being completely berated by this man, he decides I'm going to stand up and I'm going to say what I think to this guy. First of all, my colleague, crazy face, is an angel, and you're lucky you crossed paths with her, and your son and daughter are going to be better off. Like not just like your son and daughter are going to be happy that this happened. They're better off, as in better off than they were with you piece of shit. And then he walks out of there. Yeah. One thing I thought was interesting is as he walks toward his car, he turns and looks at the door.
Yeah.
And he smiles. He's like, mm-hmm. Kind of smiles and nods, like he's proud of himself. And then, of course, he gets beat to shit. Just gets a brutal beat down by this guy's thug.
Yeah.
And after which he pulls himself into the car and smiles again. Again, like he's proud of himself. So maybe he thinks in that moment, this is it. I am a martyr. Maybe now Sarah will think higher of me. She'll admire me, and maybe Bill and Felicia will think that I am, I have more worth.
I think that is there, but I also think that the dad fucked up majorly by having him beat up that way. Because I think that mom and the kid are going to come home, and the kid's going to be a lot better, and they shared this experience together, and now they're true believers, and they find out that that he had Cal beaten up. Like, how well is that going to play?
Well,
they're going to be able to play them off of the dad.
Do you think it was more? The smile was more of a, "Oh, you're gonna get it.
I got you now. You fucked up." That's how I saw that. Yeah. But also true. I think you're also completely right that they're going to be horrified when they see the condition that he's in when he comes back. And yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, Sarah, you stupid bitch. If I were Cal, I would press charges immediately. And also, if John thinks he's got a leg to stand on with the Ridges going to Peru, first of all, Freddie's an adult.
Yeah.
And Sarah's his mother. Or not Sarah, I'm sorry. What's
Carrie.
her name? Carrie is his mother. Carrie has every right to take her adult son to Peru if she wants to. So he has no say in that whatsoever. None.
Yeah, that was a really dumb thing to do.
That was the stupidest thing he could have possibly done.
Yeah, pressing charges, obviously, who just has a guy beaten up for no apparent reason?
Granted, he's rich, so he could probably pay his way out of that charge, but, still, it was a dumb thing.
Very dumb.
Yeah.
And hopefully Sarah will feel properly chastised.
I don't think.
Yeah, because I guess it's kind of her fault in a way. Like if you look at it that way,
it's her fault. And when we saw the sneak peek.
Wait, you were saying before that you thought Sarah made the right decision.
Oh, I do. I completely agree. But I think, she definitely did. But she
should just feel a little bad. Come on,
she's gonna see it as her fault. That's all I'm saying.
Just a little.
Well, maybe that's why he's smiling too.
Right. Yeah.
We know it from the next time on the path. We see her next to him in bed, and he looks so sad, so beat up. Oh, I'm so
and she
sick.
says, "This is my fault.
This is all my fault."
Well, yeah, it was.
Just know he feels awesome. Just be like, yeah, no,
maybe next time you'll listen to me.
It's not you did the right thing.
Maybe next time you'll listen to me when I tell you to do something, Sarah.
But no, when he stood up for her, when he said, "My colleague is an angel," he was shaking and his eyes were all crazy.
She's a fucking angel.
Because he has no
Fucking
impulse
angel.
control. And the poor thing is just so repressed and so pent
Well,
up.
the way he reacts to hearing someone insult Sarah is very similar to the way he reacted when he heard his mother insulting Steve.
Right.
Because she's the
Don't
Virgin
talk about
Mary,
him
yeah.
that way. Yeah, so I think that he was sincere when he was just like, don't talk shit about
I think he
Sarah.
thinks of Sarah like a mother type figure. I really do.
Mm. Well, when he goes to pray with her, he kneels down next to her, and she's looking at him like, "Oh, hi." And she's basically taking comfort in him when previously Eddie has only been telling her basically, you're overreacting. You're overreacting. Calm down. Just wait. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. And that's not what she's been wanting, because to her it is a big deal. She almost lost her son. She genuinely believes that if her son becomes an ignorant, he won't be in the garden with her. I mean, when she says the garden without Cal, I mean, it's rather heartbreaking to think
Without
about.
Hawk.
Without Hawk. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, no, you're right, because
Without
that
Hawk.
line was so sad when she said it like that way. Like, you can't, gaining paradise, but having it sort of snatched out from
It's
under you at the same time.
it's empty without your own
Right.
child, and so she's in a lot of pain, even though her reaction is to fly off the handle and be really bossy and sharp and snappy, and that's how she handles her pain. But when she's there in the prayer room, she's broken and sad, and he comes up to her and is warm and comforting, which was a way in which her husband wasn't acting. And so
And he was way more rational about it, though.
Yeah, he was totally. I
Yeah.
totally agree with the things that he said. I totally, like, let's wait, let him stew in his room, and then we'll sit him down later. That's excellent advice.
Yeah, ultimately, like her reacting is only going to push him,
Yeah, alien.
towards the girl, which of course is exactly what happens.
Yes. Although she did make the right decision to sit down with Hawk and tell him why she feels the way she did, which was a very touching story about how she was healed. He was healed. But in this scene with Cal, she starts to kind of lean into him, and she's got that bedroom eyes, and he, like, they look like they're about to kiss, I thought. And then he's just like, let me pray with you. And her look on her face is just like, oh, okay. Like, I thought it was kind of like, for a moment there, she thought maybe he was going to. Anyway.
And what did you think about that?
About what in particular?
Did you agree with Jenny's take on that scene?
That he looked like he was going to kiss her?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Which is, but then like you say, I don't think would ever do that.
No, I think he would hold back. Yeah.
But I think she had a definite look of confusion and I don't know what's going on here.
I did not see that scene in any way, shape, or form remotely the way Jenny saw it. Mine was completely different. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see if any other fans saw it that way, because that's interesting.
I think she's very emotionally keyed up at that moment, and
she looked extremely tired in that scene to me, and sad. And I saw that as a very a brotherly, sisterly scene. I did not read it any romantic intentions whatsoever in that scene, or energy, or chemistry between them. And it didn't look to me like he was going to kiss her or anything like that at all.
I don't think Cal wanted to kiss her.
Yeah, I don't think that it was coming from him at all. I think it
was her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I read exhaustion on her face and tiredness, and I also I thought it was more of a, she was just worried about Hawk, And I didn't see anything else like that in that at all.
So, the relationship between Sarah and Eddie is sort of kind of getting back on track. They're getting along a little bit better.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the episode, they finally get together. In 5.
Yeah, well, I mean, during that beat-up song.
Right, yeah, that was quite the montage. There was a lot going on in that song.
Somebody. But, I like their little montages. When they did the I Want to Be a Better Man at the end of episode 4, that was good, too. Especially when it showed, like, Abe standing over his daughter's crib and finally coming to terms with the fact that she's sick, that his wife is right, and he's just been denying it. And there is something wrong with his daughter. The use of music in these episodes has been really good, I think.
I enjoyed Freddie's scene of cleansing in Peru with that. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and there we definitely saw him seeing something that wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah. He saw something quite similar to what Sarah saw, which was that there was an open eye in the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And the velvet, the black velvet sky, like she saw a hawk, which I assume is why she named her child Hawk.
He saw a hawk too.
He saw some big, large bird.
He did?
Yeah.
Yeah, Freddie did, yes.
Yeah, for like a split second.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I did see her hawk. I didn't see his hawk. But
he did too.
It's kind of interesting that they both look up and see this hole in the ceiling that isn't there in the night sky. I wonder if that's a typical reaction. I mean, obviously, Eddie didn't have that reaction. His was, dead brother and creepy snake. But
I think, like with most psychotropic drugs, it's it has a lot to do with the state of mind of the user.
Right.
I have a friend that talks about people experiencing gnomes.
Gnomes?
Gnomes!
Yes.
Like as in pointy hats and beards?
Yes.
What the fuck?
It's a cultural thing that you're gonna see whatever mythological thing is most prevalent for you culturally. I'm not kidding.
That's funny.
That's what I see.
So
probably something horrible from my religion.
That's why I think the snake is relevant, because it's culturally Western, Western cultural tradition of the snake as a dark symbol.
Yeah. Yeah, the great deceiver. Right. That's what I was thinking, cow, but it could be symbolic of the disease. It could be symbolic of the religion that's not true.
Yeah, definitely.
But my first instinct was like, okay, well, who's the deceiver here? Oh, it's cow.
Maybe Steve's the deceiver.
Yeah, maybe he purposely tricked Bill and Felicia and all the others to think that he was climbing a glowing hot ladder of truth.
Yeah, we don't really know what he was ever really like,
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, we never see him. All we hear is stories about him.
I wonder if we're ever going to get to see any flashbacks. That would be cool.
Because the actor who plays him is fairly famous.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's right. He is.
You'd think he'd make more of an appearance than just a guy laying in a bed. Like, they get this, famous guy, and he's just sitting there in a bed.
I hope we get to see him. That would be fun. I would love to. That would be awesome.
I would highly expect that we will get some flashbacks.
Yeah, I would love that. At this point, he has kind of a mythological presence, which is good. at this point in the show.
Yeah.
But I think eventually we're going to see him as a person and find out exactly what's
I'm so excited that Jessica says she's got material for 20 seasons and that there will be at least a season 2. We know that for sure because there's an event scheduled for next year. So next April. So I'm really, really excited about that.
cool. Well, one major plot that goes throughout both episodes is that Cal tells Eddie that he wants him to climb 7R. It's kind of interesting how he and Eddie have this kind of passive aggressive back and forth that keeps happening. First off, where Cal looks right at Sarah and very kindly, tells her that everything's going to be okay. It's time to heal. And then he looks over at Eddie like, you ass. Just like this really pointed look at him. But when he tries to get more information out of Eddie, he realizes it really, really hits him how much Eddie doesn't like him anymore and doesn't trust him. And he just says, we used to be close. People change. And that's when he says, let's climb 7R. Let me be your guide. So,
yeah, I think you're right about him in trying to pull him in, to a more close relationship.
I felt like that smile that he was kind of genuine, that he smiled at him after he told him that it was time to heal. And I felt like the conversation afterwards, he was really shocked when he found when Eddie was kind of just like, people change, Cal. When he was really, really taken aback because his whole body language changed when Eddie said that to him. Because, like I said, I think he really genuinely wants to be friends with Eddie and doesn't have any animosity towards him or anything. He wants to know what happened in Peru, and he knows that he's hiding something from him, but I don't think it's malicious, that he has malicious feelings towards Eddie, and I think he does want to be his friend.
No, I think he does want to be his friend, yeah. But he also is offended that he would lie to him.
Mm-hmm.
And during that scene where they're eating the orange, and Cal's kind of, telling him about his fear and telling, all this, they have sort of this battle of the passive aggressives back and forth where he says, like, oh, I envy you for not caring that you're nobody. And, oh, you envy something about me. Yeah. And then...
that's not the only thing I envy about you.
Yeah, and then it's...
And of course, poor Eddie, and not necessarily poor Eddie, but Eddie is so insecure. All he can think about is that he's talking about Sarah. And I don't believe Cal is talking about Sarah at all.
I don't think that Eddie is obsessed with Cal fucking his wife.
Yeah, that's all he is thinking about is Cal and Sarah, and I don't think Cal has Sarah on the brain at all.
He can't see
not in that
else.
way. Yeah.
He can't see anything else. And so his vision is, his great vision, while Cal's great vision was, you were afraid of being nothing and nobody. Mm-hmm. Eddie's great vision is, this guy's banging your wife. It's like so mundane. Mm-hmm. He has such simple fears, really. But then Cal is just like, yeah, well. But basically, Eddie's like, you're supposed to have control. You are 10R. Mm-hmm. Snip, snap. And then Cal's just like, yeah, well. We prayed together. Snip, snap. Just like back and forth like this.
Yeah.
Someone has to worry about money.
But the thing that I find so humorous about that conversation is I think it's almost like they're having two different conversations.
Oh, yes.
Completely different conversations. Because I think Eddie is just so mad and so passive aggressive, and I think Cal is having an entirely different conversation where Cal feels like he's having a lighthearted dialogue with somebody he's trying to be buddies with and he's trying to open up to.
I don't know. I think there is that edge of, I know you're lying to me about all this stuff.
There is, but I think Cal's being a whole lot more lighthearted and open about things than Eddie.
He's trying.
He's trying to, as much as he can in Cal land. As knowing what we know about how tightly wound Cal is. This is as relaxed, I think, as we've seen Cal.
Yeah, with the eating in front of him and the sharing the story and the apologizing.
I don't think we've seen Cal this low-key before.
He's trying very hard.
Yeah.
And Eddie is just like, I hate you. I hate you so much.
He's just an angry little rabbit over there eating that orange.
Oh, my God. He thinks he understands Cal, and he doesn't. Some of the things that he says that he thinks are barbs is just like, like someone has to worry about money. But we know that Cal
doesn't give a flying fuck about money.
Doesn't give a shit about your $1 million. No. It's not about the money. And Eddie, apparently thinks it is because he has no understanding of Cal. Like, his understanding of Cal is extremely shallow.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks that everything that Cal is doing with Sarah is all about him wanting to bang her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like,
no.
You're not that insightful, man.
And I was talking to Jenny, to you before about this. I feel a little bit bad for Aaron Paul because I kind of do wish that they were writing a little bit more substantial stuff for him, for Eddie's character. Because
he was getting all of the substantive scenes.
They're making Eddie so there's very little appeal to his character to sympathize with.
Yeah.
I feel.
Every now and then he has these moments where I'm like, oh, good Eddie.
Exactly. There are, and I want to like him so bad. I do. And have
his
sympathy.
Relationship with Hawk.
Yes. Those are his strongest moments.
Yes. Yeah.
For me, the best moment I felt for Eddie was his conversation with two scenes. His conversation with Hawk at the dinner table about Alyssa. Wait, no, is it Alyssa? Ashley, thank you. Was his conversation after Sarah stormed out of the room about Ashley. And then the second scene to me that was his shining moment in the show so far was the scene in the diner with Abe.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That scene was my jaw was on the floor, and I was just so proud of Eddie for that.
Yeah.
He's almost convincing Abe that the movement is a good thing.
Is legit. He absolutely is.
Because when he was just like, joining this movement isn't going to do a damn thing for your little girl, I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, you see Abe is doing like these classic little feel the thing out, just investigative questions. Like he says, oh, so do I need to give you money? Or,
he wants... honest. Yeah.
He wants them to say, yeah, you're going to give us your bank account number.
You're a father. You're concerned about your child. What's important right now is that you get your daughter healthy. You take care of your child. This is going to be keeping you awake at night. This is your concern. I mean, this is your biggest concern. The only thing in the world that matters right now, not the movement.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was so beautiful.
So he strikes out with his question about money, because they don't want money. And he basically is waiting for them to say, oh yeah, your daughter, if you come to our group and you worship our light, or your daughter will be healed. And instead he's just like, it doesn't work like that. So I think that was a really persuasive moment, where Abe was thinking, actually, these guys are pretty legit.
Wow. Yeah, I think Abe was really impressed by that, as well he should have been, and I think that was a shining moment for Eddie's character.
Yeah, the few and far between. I think just about everything that involves him with Sarah, I find tedious.
his scenes with Sarah leave me feeling like he has the appeal of wet bread, unfortunately.
Yeah. But yeah, he's definitely got a good thing going with Hawk.
Very much so. He's being a very good parent to Hawk.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Nikki?
Yeah. I mean, the Abe scene was, it's ironic because the way that, he is presenting the group is in this sort of very neutral way, but the more that he downplays its significance, the more that Abe is going to think that it's legitimate. Yeah, so that's,
Yes.
And in terms of Aaron Paul's character, yeah, I mean, they're really highlighting Hugh's acting abilities in the show. I think a lot more than anybody else, and he's really risen. Again, no pun intended, to the occasion of this complex and sort of tortured, character whose motivations are still unclear to the audience.
Yeah, I think it's funny.
Which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, the way the fandom has been reacting has been people who just hate Cal, just think he's the worst person. They want to beat the crap out of him.
I've never been so angry in my life as I have been reading some of the stuff I've been reading about people's reactions to Cal. And and this is a show, but I think I just love Hugh Dancy so much, and I'm so proud of the job that he's doing on this show and his talent. That I've gotten a little too emotionally involved with it because I just get enraged over the things that I read about it. And
well, they're missing like half of the show.
They are,
because they're reducing him to a stereotype, and that's not the character he's
Did you have any
playing.
final thoughts?
No.
Okay, final thoughts. I'm really curious to see what the outcome of the beatdown is going to be for all the reasons that we talked about, because I think it's going to have a very significant ripple effect for pretty much all of the characters.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so that's I'm very I was very interested in the way that Hugh portrayed that scene, and that he didn't really fight back. So that also is interesting to me. So
when he smiled, I wondered. It's a little. I was trying to figure out where he was coming from, the thug, because he left the front door and he's looking out, and then the thug comes up behind him at some point. I don't know where he came from.
Yeah.
But the way he looks at the door, kind of smiles and goes, and then gets smashed. It kind of made me wonder if he knew it was coming. I don't know.
all right, I gotta run. But thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
So next one, I guess we get to see what happens with Hawk and Ashley, what happens with the beatdown, if Freddie Ridge gets over his drug addiction, if Abe finds out more things about Allison's husband, who they were suspecting of maybe being a drug trafficker. That's interesting. And what is the deal with the miracle? Will there ever be a miracle? I want to know.
Tune in next time.
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us, and yeah, we will definitely we'll have a good time reviewing episode 6. I'm looking forward to it. So, thanks for joining us. We'll